We are live. We're live on YouTube and we're live on Instagram. I was going live for for YouTube, and I decided to join Instagram in on the festivities. We are going to be talking about the closing transits of 2024. Now, this is impromptu because your girl, whenever I go live by myself, I can't schedule it. It don't feel right to schedule it. So, whoever is meant to make the live will make the live. But I do know that we should get some people here on YouTube. So, I, of course, have my notes because this is going to be a lot that we are going to cover. We are going to be honestly getting into all of the transits for December. I'm going to give the start and the end dates for each of the astrological transits, and then we're going to talk a little bit about them. How do we tap into the energy, and essentially how are these going to shape the calendar year for next year. Now, little disclaimer, I know that there's always talks on the internet about when the new year starts and when it ends, all these different things. One thing that is for certain is that when it comes to these energies, they're always repeating. There are always new cycles. There's always a beginning, and there's never really an end because all of these energies continuously repeat themselves. It's always a continuation. So we are going to be discussing the calendar, okay? The calendar year for January to December. And so now that we are in December, our the new year is going to be starting next month, and it's going to be a really good time to make sure that we're in the energies of the new year. And this is just one of the new years. There are multiple new years. So I am going to first, again, get into the key transits that we're going to cover for December. And I'm going to give their start date, their end date. And then we're also going to talk about the full moon and the new moon for December as well. And each of these different transits that I'm going to be talking about, I am going to give ways that we can alchemize the energy. So before we get started, if you are new here on YouTube, hello, my name is Tyler Anuranita, and on my YouTube channel, I talk a lot about aligning with the cosmos, and I have an emphasis on numerology, I'll say astrocartography first, and then it's astrology, numerology, and then I also dabble a little bit in human design. So basically the purpose of my channel is to get us in alignment with the cosmic energy so that we can remove stagnant energies from our lives. And we do this by focusing on the astrological transits and numerology, and then again, astrocartography as well. So if you guys see me looking over, that is because I am live on Instagram as well. And then if you see me looking down, I am looking at my notes because I have a lot of dates that we are going to be covering today. So I want to make sure that I have everything. Hello, Chris. Thanks for joining. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to comment. I will be making sure that I'm checking the comments. And yeah, if you're interested in anything that we're talking about today, there's a lot of content that you can binge on my YouTube channel as well as my Instagram and my TikTok page as well. So the first transit that we're going to be talking about today is Mars retrograding in Leo. This is a very, very important transit. And it's an important transit because it's actually going to be shaping our creativity. So this is how we're going to be able to tap into the energy moving forward into next year. Although we are in a winter solstice, this isn't really the time to take a lot of action when it comes to the masculine way. We're going to be taking action in a more feminine way, meaning that we're going to be really kind of just getting our getting our flow and figuring out the things that we want to do and allowing any downloads that we need to come to us. And so that is what Mars and Leo is going to do for us. Now, Mars and Leo, that retrograde actually starts today, which is December 6th, and it ends February 23rd of 2025. Now, if you have any placements in your birth chart that are at 6 degrees, or if your Leo is at 6 degrees, you're going to feel this a lot. There are other signs that are going to feel this as well, but I'm not going to dabble too much into that. But Mars is going to begin its retrograde in Leo at 6 degrees, and then it's going to move backwards into Cancer. And when it goes into Cancer, that's going to be a completely different energy, but we're just going to focus on the Leo energy for right now. So the theme for Mars and Leo is basically how is the energy going to affect your action, your creativity, and the things that you move forward in. So this is going to be a really, really good time to retrospect, to introspect, right? When it comes to retrograde, it basically means like, how can you take a step back? How can you introspect? And how can you kind of take inventory of where you are? So Mars and Leo is asking us to take inventory of where our creativity is. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Hey, Naomi. So that is how we are going to be able to utilize that Mars and Leo energy. Leo is also about how we shine. So it's a perfect transit to really kind of hone in on what is it that you want to do creatively, especially if you are on social media. Mars energy is really, really good as a content creator because it's going to allow you to really push forward in your creativity and expressing yourself. So that is one of the transits that we need to look out for in December. Another transit is going to be Mercury retrograde, and that is going to be in Capricorn. Now that started December 15th. Well, that's going to start that's going to start December 15th, and it's going to end January 2nd. So this retrograde is going to be focusing on evaluating your communication, your career plans, and it's going to want you to get structured in your thinking. Mercury is all about the mind, it's all about the voice. So how can you take a step back and think about the way that you've been communicating with yourself, your family, your community, online, social media, all these different things. Mercury, it's not a time that you can't, push forward on certain things. It's really just about checking the fine details. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to slow down. It really, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to stop everything. It just means that you need to slow down a little bit and just be a little bit more particular about your message and the things that you say. So that is going to be, again, Mercury retrograde in Capricorn starts December 15th and ends January 2nd. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the sun, because the sun is going to be conjunct with Mercury and Capricorn as well. Hello, those of you that are on YouTube. I am going through the astrology forecast for December. And so far we talked about Mars retrograding in Leo. We just talked about Mercury retrograding in Capricorn. And now we're going to talk about the Sun conjunct Mercury in Capricorn. Now this transit actually starts on December 23rd. And I was a little confused about the end date, so I will probably have to put that in the comments. But this conjunction is going to occur when Mercury is retrograde, so it's going to provide us an opportunity for more clarity. The sun conjuncting is kind of getting you to focus on yourself. The sun is all about us, and it's all about us as individuals. So how can you utilize Mercury energy to communicate better with yourself, or to make sure that you're shining in your actual communication? So this is going to be all amazing transits that we're going to need for next year, right? While we're in this solstice energy, just kind of revisiting things that make us who we are so that we could have a good year next year. Now, the next transit, well, actually, yes, the next transit that we're going to be talking about is Venus in Sagittarius. This is a really, really, really good transit, especially since we're in Sagittarius season right now. And as a Sagittarius rising, I am definitely feeling that that Venus and Sagittarius energy. Now, this is going to have us shift our focus on relationships, values, and basically just ending the year with adventure. So if there's anything that you could do differently that makes you feel good for December to help bring you into the new year next year, definitely make sure that you do that, because you're going to want to kind of finish the year off good, especially if this was a good year for you, or even if you feel like it wasn't the best year, still tap into your Venus and Sagittarius energy. Those are two really, really good energies. And I believe it starts December 29th and it ends January 23rd of 2025. So you have some time to kind of tap into your Venusian energy in a Sagittarian way. How can you make all the things that you love fun again? Or how can you just tap into that creativity? So far, the transits that we've talked about for December are, again, Mars retrograding in Leo. That's from December 6th to February 23rd. And the second retrograde is Mercury, which is going to be retrograding in Capricorn. And that's December 15th to January 2nd. And then we talked about the Sun conjunct Mercury in Capricorn, which is going to be December 23rd of 2024. And then Venus in Sagittarius starts December 29th. And so now that we've gotten all the transits out the way, we are going to be coming up on our final new moon and full moon of the year. So these are definitely going to be energies that you want to manifest, especially if you haven't done any manifestations for any of the new moons and full moons for this year, absolutely try to do it this month so that you can set your intentions for the new calendar year that starts in January. So the last full moon we have of 2024 is going to be on December 15th. And this full moon is going to be in Gemini. So this full moon, the themes is a combination of community, curiosity, adaptability. So this full moon is basically going to be, full moons, if you don't know, they're about releasing before you start something new. Or they're about finishing up a cycle that you have started. And usually when it comes to the full moon and new moons, they all have a 6-month cycle. So when you have a full moon in Gemini, just know that there was a new moon in Gemini 6 months prior. So this full moon is going to ask us to release outdated ways of thinking and open ourselves up to new perspectives. Being as though it's in Gemini, Gemini is all about the mind. It's all about, Gemini is Mercury as well. So it's all about communication. It's about the mind. It's about the things that you find, to be valuable to you on a day-to-day basis. So the full moon is about releasing those outdated ways of thinking and communication with yourself and other people. Now, that's going to be really good going into the new year if you need to drop somebody out your life. Okay, if you need to drop somebody out your life, or if you need to communicate to make sure that someone stays in your life as well, this is a good time to get intentional about that. Now, the last new moon of 2004 that we are going to have, that is going to be on December 30th of 2024. And this is going to be in the sign of Capricorn. So one thing I love about Capricorn energy, especially as a Taurus, I'm an earth sign. I get along with Capricorn energy. It's really about how can we create structure? How can we create foundation? So the theme of this new moon going into the new year is basically going to be a time to set a structured and realistic intentions for the year ahead. So it's a perfect way to end 2024. Again, it's kind of that new year, new me type of energy, although we know that a lot of the things that you want to implement in your life, you're most likely not going to implement those things until the spring solstice anyway, because in the winter time, it's all about really just kind of honing in on what is it that you want to do, just creating that manifestation in your head, being in your feminine energy versus being in the masculine energy when spring solstice comes in. So the new moon is going to support your goals, setting your intentions, discipline, and then, like I said, manifesting tangible results. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. Okay, so I believe those are everything. That's everything for December. Everything that's coming up for December as far as the new moons, the full moons, and then the retrogrades that we have, and all of the other transits that I talked about. Now, how do we utilize, sorry, y'all. Okay, so now how do we navigate the retrogrades? So if you're not familiar with retrograde energy just means to take a step back. It doesn't mean to halt everything, and it doesn't mean that you need to be scared of, retrograde energy. I know a lot of people on the internet like to fearmonger when it comes to that, especially Mercury. They're always like, oh, everything's gonna go to shit. And that's not true. It just basically means that you just want to slow down and double check the fine details. It doesn't mean that you can't manifest during these time frames, or it doesn't mean that you can't try to take action during these time frames. It just means to slow down and think about it before you actually do it. Make sure that it is the move that you want to make, because the energy is not just with you on a personal level, the energy is also on a global level. So even though you may not be feeling the energy in a negative way, there could be someone else experiencing a negative Mercury retrograde, and then that's why your communication is consistently off with them. So it's really just about alchemizing the energy when it comes to astrology, numerology, all these different cosmic tools that we have. How can you alchemize the energy? And you alchemize the energy by doing practices, right? Whatever it is that you like to do. It doesn't have to look a particular way. It could literally be any way. So whether that is journaling, meditating, or whether that's just playing basketball, whether that is just going to the gym, it could be literally anything that will help you alchemize the energy. So when we talk about alchemizing energy, it's really just about replacing, if you have any negative thoughts, is replacing it with a positive one. It's the polarity of what's the polarity called? Sorry, y'all, my brain isn't getting it. But it's the polarity or the duality of everything. Oh, when there's one end of the spectrum, there's always going to be another end. So focusing on the positive, although there's going to be a negative. Just like if there's a negative, there's going to be a positive. So it's the law of polarity. There it goes. I couldn't get it. So it's really just about focusing and honing in on the law of polarity. So if you notice that things around you during a retrograde period are going kind of haywire, don't focus on the negative. Try to alchemize the energy by focusing on the positive, and then that's how you'll be able to better maneuver through that energy. And again, it's like with utilizing any practices, which is going to be very important coming up. I did a live yesterday talking about the wellness revolution and how wellness is really taking a center stage moving forward, going into the age of Aquarius. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that everybody has to be a practitioner and everybody has to, do kumbaya in the woods. It just means that, even if you are, an entrepreneur, or even if you are at a 9 to 5, it just means like, how can that 9 to 5 serve you in your wellness? Is it serving you, or are you working yourself to the point where you don't feel as though you enjoy the job? So the age of Aquarius is about really enjoying what you do and putting yourself first. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to drop the mundane life or the mundane world. It just means that how can you make it work for you? So I believe that that is kind of all I wanted to talk about. I did put a post up the other day on my Instagram, YouTube. If you do not have my Instagram, you can go ahead and follow me on there. It is at Consciouspirations. And so I already put up a post with the rising signs that's going to help you kind of know what to focus on for Pluto and Aquarius. And I actually just also did Mars and Leo transit as well on my Instagram page. That's kind of where I can put a lot of the rising signs and exactly how it's going to affect your rising signs a little bit easier. But I am going to also be working out something where I'm doing a little bit more long form content with some better notes. I think before I kind of, the way that I did it one time before, I actually really liked it. I had like cards up and I basically was going through the energy of the rising signs and kind of just giving you wellness advice. That is how I utilize astrology. I utilize it in a way of just creating more wellness and well-being in my life. So when I, talk about astrology on my page, I'm kind of talking about it on a holistic level. So it's mind, body, soul, or spirit, and then including astrocartography, which is going to help us exude the external energy internally. Well, the internal energy externally. So that is mainly it. That's mainly all I wanted to talk about. I will probably be doing these a little bit better. This was the first one that I did, and I kind of just wanted to make sure that I actually started this because this is something that I want to implement for next year, doing the astrology forecast for either the week or the month, and just kind of talking about the energies that we're going to come across. Now, I created a reel the other day kind of talking about how when it comes to the transits, we don't need to pay attention to them every single day. We don't have to check our calendars every day, but it's really just about knowing, being mindful of the energy, right? So let's say you are having a bad day, or let's say you and your partner aren't communicating properly, or let's say you just feel like everybody in the external world may be acting a little weird towards you. That is a time to check the transit. You don't have to wake up, you don't have to wake up and be like, oh, you know what, I'm going to check the transit today and see what's going on. You can definitely do that if that's the way that you want to go about it. But for me personally, and to keep my sanity and not checking it every single day, I really only check the transits when there's something actually happening or when I want to do something because I'm considering these transits. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not going to do it because of a specific transit. It just means that I'm going to pay attention to the energy and I'm going to try to alchemize it as best as I can. So that is what I'm going to continue to kind of spread as far as my message for the remainder of the year, and then moving on for next year as well. It's something that I started a little bit earlier this year and I have been loving it. So that is going to be all. I just wanted to do this really, really quick. Impromptu lives. Looks like we have been talking for about 23 minutes. So if anybody has any questions while you're watching the replay, go ahead and put it in the comment section. YouTube, I will have this on my page. Same thing for Instagram. And yeah, thank you all for joining. Thanks for commenting, and I will see you all the next time I go live. And oh, also YouTube, my next video that I'm going to be putting out, I actually just filmed it a little earlier. It is going to be discussing numerology, and I'm going to go through the numbers, the energies 1 through 9, and how you can actually implement it on a monthly basis, how to check your pinnacle year cycle, and how to check your year cycle as well. So I'm going to be really excited for that. So if you are just coming across my YouTube channel from my stream, go ahead and follow my page, and I will see you all in my next video. Peace.